Hey there folks, Tim Slade here from the eLearning Designers Academy. Did you know that there's a job market most people never see? One where jobs go to referrals instead of resumes, or one where knowing someone often matters more than knowing something, and one where the best opportunities, they never even make it to the job board. Now, you may have heard the stat that 70 to 80% of jobs aren't advertised publicly, or candidates who enter the hiring process via a referral are 20 times more likely to get hired versus those who apply via traditional channels. And on the surface, these stats feel almost too good to be true. But they're not. Instead, they're all in reference to something that's called the hidden job market. And it's something that people talk about all the time, but rarely provide clear and practical advice for how to take advantage of it. So, I wanted to change that. I decided to dig into the topic, talk to real-world hiring managers and career coaches and experts in the industry to help you break it down. What is the hidden job market? Why does it exist? And more importantly, how can you tap into it with real, practical strategies that actually work? Now, before we dive in, I want to thank ATD for sponsoring this video. If you're trying to tap into the hidden job market, one of the best ways to start is by getting involved with your local ATD chapter. It's where learning professionals connect, refer, and build the kinds of relationships that lead to jobs. Just go to td.org, click on chapters, and use the chapter locator to get involved with events happening in your local area. All right, so after hearing about the hidden job market for years, I wanted to know what it actually is, not just as the buzzword, but how it works behind the scenes. So I went on a little quest. I dug through research, I talked to hiring managers and everything I could find online. So let's start with this simple question to kick this off. What is the hidden job market?
The hidden job market is about not just doing the regular approach that everyone else does, where you apply online and hope and wish that you're going to hear back from a recruiter, but you're going through other channels where you're connecting with people and building that personal relationship with people. And this is something that separates you from everyone else because you're kind of going around the entire system in a way where you're being authentic and you're building those relationships with people.
So to put it simply, the hidden job market refers to jobs that are filled through referrals before they're posted publicly. But how does that actually even work? Well, let me visualize it for you. Meet Danielle. Danielle is a senior learning manager at a mid-sized tech company. She's hiring an instructional designer, and she's done this countless times before. Danielle knows that every time she posts a job opening, she gets hundreds of applications and cold messages. She doesn't have time for that, so instead she reaches out to a few trusted peers in the industry. And one name comes back, Eli. Eli is respected, he's visible in the community, and most importantly, he's built relationships in his professional network, and they know he's looking for new opportunities. So Danielle reaches out to him, they click, and after a couple of quick conversations, she offers him the job. The job was never posted, and Eli got hired because a person in his network trusted him and connected him with Danielle. Now, I share this because that sort of stuff happens every single day in this industry. And it's not that hiring managers are trying to be unfair. They're just trying to survive the process just as much as you are. You know, sorting through 400 resumes to find the small handful of qualified applicants takes hours. Recruiters and talent acquisition teams are overloaded. And while the ATS system and AI filtering tools sound great in theory, they aren't as reliable or widely used as you'd think.
What most people, whether they either don't understand the ATS or they're perhaps taking some creative liberty to scare people, is this idea of, oh, you apply and you can just get kicked out right away. Now, the keyword thing is separate. People, it's very easy to game keywords. So any recruiter who's worth their weight and has worked for more than about 15 minutes is not going to rely on keywords. Like, what you should do is you should know what keywords are important to your core job. If you're going into sales, if you're going into instructional design, if you're going into HR, if you're going into accounting, every discipline has certain keywords, certain tools, certain technology, certain capabilities that matter. You should know what those things are, and then you should be talking about those in your examples, in your bullet points. Show me how you've used and done these things. I don't care if a keyword shows up somewhere without, like, it's like a dead end. Like, you give me a keyword and I'm like, all right, what do I do with this? You know how to put a word in a resume, but I don't know if you've done it or how you've done it or if you were good at it.
In fact, despite all of the noise you hear on LinkedIn about ATS systems, hardly any of them are automatically scanning your resume and auto-rejecting them based on keywords. And so when sorting through hundreds of resumes doesn't pan out, many of them skip the job posting altogether and turn straight to their network to find their ideal candidates. And to throw even more data at you about the power of the hidden job market, according to JobVite, while referrals only make up about 7% of potential candidates for a given job posting, they convert at nearly 40%, meaning referrals have an advantage over candidates who simply apply via the job board. And so that's why referrals often beat even the strongest resumes. All right, so you're bought into this idea of the hidden job market. Cool. But what happens next is where most job seekers get it all wrong. Most of them start thinking, gosh, I need to rush out and start networking. They start sending cold DMs, dropping resumes into random inboxes, or ask for introductions out of nowhere. And they quickly discover that that's not really getting them anywhere. And that's because that's not what networking actually looks like. Instead, it's something we call transactional networking, when you're focused on what you can get, not the relationship you can build.
So transactional networking is any type of networking where you don't really know the person that you're asking something of, and you're asking something, but without giving any context. It doesn't tap into that hidden job market at all. Building relationships with people, actually getting to know people, actually showing your work to people and talking to them about your work and what you do differently, what you would do the same, like building that community and building those connections. That's the way to get people to say your name when you're not in the room.
So, if we agree that transactional networking isn't going to get you anywhere, what should you be doing instead? Well, what you want to focus on is something we call relational networking. Relational networking is when you use time and consistency and curiosity and gratitude to build a relationship with someone else. And that means showing up, engaging with others, asking thoughtful questions, and being present. Networking isn't about who you know, it's about who knows you and trusts you and wants to recommend you. And that takes time and intention, not just a random LinkedIn connection request and a DM. But the bigger point is that when you focus on building relationships, you're actually building trust. And trust is what leads to opportunity. So the next time Danielle sends out a text to her network, your name might be the one someone sends back.
Relational networking is when you are leading through curiosity when you're having conversations with people, not with some hidden agenda, and seeing if there's commonality. That's it. And once you start doing that, that's when people start to open the door a bit and start feeling comfortable with you.
Now, let me give you a simple example that actually just happened to me recently. Someone I met 5+ years ago at a conference in South Africa emailed me. They needed a freelance instructional designer based in Johannesburg. And you know what? As it turned out, one of my students from my cohort program happens to live there. I trust her. I've seen her work. I've had the chance to mentor her. And so I sent my contact their name, and they were on a Zoom call less than 24 hours later. That's how the hidden job market actually works. And it's happening every single day in the background while you're endlessly applying for jobs. Now, tapping into the hidden job market isn't rocket science, but it requires more than connecting with random people on LinkedIn or following the latest talking head on YouTube. Instead, comment on LinkedIn posts from people you admire, people in the industry, and go beyond simply saying, thanks for sharing. Take a stance and share your opinion or your experience, or better yet, ask a thoughtful follow-up question. Most people who post on LinkedIn are looking for people like you to engage. And so, engage with curiosity, not a hire me sales pitch. After you started interacting with those people a few times through their content, they'll recognize who you are, and they'll be that much more likely to respond when you eventually DM them. And when you do, lead with gratitude and more curiosity, not an ask for their time. The more you nurture those relationships, the more receptive they'll be to help you when you do let them know that you're looking for work or a referral. Of course, all of this engagement online is just one part of the equation. If you really want to stand out and deepen your relationships and build your network, sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is actually show up in person. And one of the most underrated ways to tap into the hidden job market is by getting involved in your local L&D community. Whether it's attending a networking event or volunteering behind the scenes, these are places where people connect, collaborate, and yes, refer people to jobs.
I think those connections are so important because first and foremost, if you're someone who's transitioning into instructional design, a local ATD chapter is probably the kindest, most altruistic place that you can go. When those networking opportunities can turn into job opportunities in the future, you've already sort of laid the groundwork for who you are. So I highly recommend it just because the more you're building relationships, people will respond to that. And eventually you'll not only get some sort of elbow to elbow conversation about practice, but potential opportunities in the future too.
All right. The hidden job market isn't a myth. It's not a secret club. It's just people hiring people that they know and trust. So stop shouting into the void and start showing up. All right. As always, I want to thank you so much for watching. Make sure to hit that like, subscribe, and bell button to get alerted the next time I publish a video just like this one. And of course, join us inside our free community inside the eLearning Designers Academy at elearningacademy.io, where we help new instructional designers and e-learning developers grow their careers by focusing on skills first. Otherwise, my name is Tim Slade, and until next time, I'll see you around.